right-hand side.
We do have those.
Yay, we're here. Happy almost Friday. Oh, I was going to say this is my favorite day of the week because it's almost Friday, but actually Friday would be my favorite day of the week. So welcome anywhere in the world where you're from. Tell us. There's a chat function to the right-hand side of your screen. So tell us where you're calling from, what you do, drop your LinkedIn. We're about getting paid. So if you are looking for a job, you have a product to sell, anything like that, Ladies Get Paid is where you want to be. Let me tell you about myself, because you're probably like, who is this lady talking with many books in her background? I'm Claire Wasserman, and I am the founder of Ladies Get Paid. We are a global community. We're an educational platform. We are all about helping women advance professionally and financially. I also am the author of Ladies Get Paid. This book came out 1 week after the insurrection. So I'm really happy to now be talking about not the insurrection. So come join us, ladiesgetpaid.com. It's free. We'll add you to our Slack group. 90,000 women are in it. We do webinars. We put them in a video library. We are basically here to make sure that you are getting everything that you need, you want, and you deserve. I am so excited to welcome you to our festival. This is our fourth event. I've lost track because there's so many and they're all amazing. We've talked about every aspect of making more, whether it's about stocks, right? Sort of old-fashioned traditional stocks, safe stocks. We've talked about cryptocurrency. We've talked about real estate investment and also how sort of fintech is disrupting the real estate space. And then I think tonight is AP. This is like AP version of money. There's a lot of language that we're going to demystify. Before I get into the panel and our panelists and sort of set you all up for that, let me give a shout out to our 3 partners. These are the people who have made this festival possible. They've made the festival free for you all, which is thank you. Free, we like free. First one is public.com. They are an app that helps you invest in companies that you believe in. There's also a social network sort of feature where people are talking about their investments and they're sharing knowledge. So we like education. Ashley is going to go drop a link in the chat and it's going to give you $25 in free stock. So, again, free. That's like the whole thing. Getting paid, getting free. We like this. That's the theme. Our second partner is Lolli. Lolli gives you free Bitcoin when you shop online. They've got 1,000 partners, Nike, Sephora, Lululemon, basically the places you are already shopping. When you download Lolli and you purchase something at any of those companies, they're actually going to give you free Bitcoin back. So that's a way to get started with investing with Bitcoin. No risk associated, right? Because it's free. Our last partner is The Balance. The Balance makes personal finance easy to understand. Any question you have about money, go to The Balance. They probably can help you out. And now let's get to the panel. I will be done speaking in approximately 30 seconds, and you're all probably grateful for that because you are here to hear from these women. So NFT, blockchain, DeFi, what do these things mean? These all seem to be quite new in our vernacular. So we got to break down A, what are those things? And B, some people are getting rich off this stuff, okay? So for example, I saw at Christie's, there was a $69 million sale of what I believe is called an NFT, okay? So it's digital art. They'll go more into detail, but let me tell you, 69 million, okay? There was a GIF or GIF, I can never pronounce it. Feel free to correct me. 500K it was sold for. So this is a money-making opportunity, but wait, it could be risky, maybe. So I want to hear from these women about if this is something we should be taking part in or just something to watch. Our panelist, I will begin with Tanaya Macheel. She is our moderator. She is the founder of the Defiant. Love that word. Love that name. The Defiant is a newsletter that is focused on decentralizing finance. Excuse me. She's working. Excuse me. I was getting into Camila's. So let me go on with Camila because Tanaya was like, I guess I'll take credit for that. Defiant is a newsletter focusing on decentralized finance. She's also the author of The Infinite Machine, How an Army of Crypto Hackers is Building the Next Internet with Ethereum. So also a lot of vocabulary there that she'll probably want to break down. Here's her book. It's amazing. Go buy it. Okay. Tanaya Macheel, senior product reporter, Blockworks, which is the financial media brand that delivers breaking news and premium insights about digital assets to millions of investors. Now you know why she's here with us. And then Ariana Fowler. She's an associate at The Fund, which is a community of founders and operators who care deeply about the next generation of local entrepreneurs. We also have Lady Fix, who has not yet joined us, but in case she does, yes? Not coming. Okay. Emergency. So we wish her best of luck, but you will hear from the most incredible women in the space. Super jazzed. I'm going to leave now. I think I overwent my 30 seconds. So there you go. So I'm getting off. I'm going to watch you guys. So I'm clicking on another tab. Speaking of tabs, you'll all notice there's the chat tab. There's also a Q&A tab. So when you have a question, go drop it in the Q&A. It'll be a lot easier for these women to answer if they're all just kind of in one place. But I also encourage you all to chat, answer each other's questions. We love to see that. Thanks all so much for being here. I'll let you all take it away. Thanks again for joining us.
Well, thank you so much, Claire. Okay, well, I'm really excited to be here. I think we're all here because all of these new words have popped up into our life, NFTs, DeFi. I think most people here probably attended the Bitcoin discussion the other night. And it all comes down to blockchain. And I think this is really interesting for me because I've been covering Bitcoin and blockchain since about 2013. And I've seen many crazes around Bitcoin. I've seen the same happen for blockchain, but I think a difficulty and a challenge that a lot of companies have run up against is finding actual revenue streams that come out of implementing blockchain technology. And I think what we're seeing a lot this year is those are finally starting to come to light. So we have so much stuff to cover in the next hour or so, but I want to bring it back to basics to start. And so I want to start with Ariana. Let's start with blockchain. How do you define blockchain? What is it and how does it work?
Yeah, so the way I like to describe blockchain, which involves some other kind of definitions, is that it is the underlying technology beneath cryptocurrencies, beneath DeFi or decentralized applications, dApps. So really when you think about blockchain, it's the underlying software, right? So you're probably not gonna see a blockchain. What does it look like? It looks like a lot of lines of code. And what makes it different than other types of software is that it's decentralized. So when we say decentralized, that means that instead of the Equifax hack where you had servers, that were centralized, and that means that people could access it and get all the information. They are decentralized, which means that all the information is actually stored on multiple computers in multiple places around the world, making it ideally more secure. I say ideally because there's always caveats with blockchain. I will caveat a lot. But it's a ledger. So when people think of a ledger, no one uses that word, right? Unless you're an accountant or like a librarian. But really, it's just a Google sheet, an Excel sheet that includes, certain data entry points. So the block in the chain part is that you have blocks of data that are stored in this ledger, and then they're chained because they're chronologically stamped and connected together. And so that's kind of the simplest way I will try to explain it. But ideally, what the blockchain does is that it allows you to build all different kinds of applications on top of it that have the same kind of qualities, such as being immutable, which means that you can't edit it or delete it. So once the information is locked in that box, you can't edit it or delete it. You can add a new box, but it's permanent, and then it's decentralized, hopefully making it a bit more resilient. And there's a whole bunch. I know we have a question about Ethereum later on, so I won't even get into it, but there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can program it to make it work for your purpose and your cause. But really, it's just a piece of software. So if you don't understand it, if you don't get it, if you're not a coder, it's okay, you don't have to. It's really about what it can do, which we'll get into.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what you just described sounds a lot like Bitcoin. I know a lot of people think of Bitcoin as a digital currency. It absolutely is that, a digital asset. It is also that, digital gold. But to Ariana's point, it is also technology as well as an application built on top of it. Cami, what are some other use cases that we see for blockchain technology? Or what are some of the most interesting applications that we've seen built on top of it?
Yeah, so Bitcoin was the first blockchain, and so the Bitcoin network was the first blockchain, and the Bitcoin coin or like asset was the first cryptocurrency built on blockchain technology. And what Bitcoin allows is just being, digital gold and being an independent currency. But then Ethereum came later. It was launched in 2015. Bitcoin was launched in 2009. And what Bitcoin kind of what Bitcoin started was peer-to-peer money. What Ethereum developed, the blockchain technology forward, was peer-to-peer anything. So what the difference is that Ethereum nodes in this distributed network that's decentralized are able to process computer code. That's a feature that the Bitcoin nodes in the network can't do. So what happens is that because the Ethereum network is more flexible, it allows developers to program anything on top of that network. So that's why we're seeing decentralized finance being built on top of Ethereum, because more complex financial applications can be built there. So we're seeing kind of the building blocks of a whole new financial system being built right now. So things like decentralized trading, so swapping cryptocurrencies against each other without a centralized party. So you can go and trade cryptocurrency directly with smart contracts, which is just like a computer program, without having to trade with a bank or a financial intermediary in between. You're just like trading with computer code. So like in the case recently, when Robinhood shut down trading because like it was collapsed with orders to trade GME and other stocks, that happened because Robinhood relies on third parties to trade. So on Ethereum, when you're trading on decentralized exchanges, that can't happen because you're not trading with any intermediaries. And so same thing with lending protocols. They allow you to deposit digital assets and gain interest instantly and programmatically. So that's an easy way to save with these kind of decentralized applications. Borrow against your own assets, and well, and like many other financial applications are some. But now we're seeing this whole other use case, which is non-fungible tokens. And it's so interesting because I think cryptocurrencies, they've been kind of the space for like speculators and just people interested in finance and interested in money and just like, you know, kind of gold bugs, like that's the sort of crowd. But now with the rise of NFTs, I've been covering the space for a while too, and it's been so nice to see kind of this new wave of people coming into the space, like creators, artists, musicians, because this use case, what it does is it allows for people to have digital ownership for the first time. So before, what happened was that digital assets, images, MP3s could be reproduced many times, and so the creators of those things couldn't really profit from the things that they were creating. So a band could like upload some song to the internet, and it could be played over and over again, like millions of times all over the world, but they wouldn't see a dollar from that. Now they can attach their track to an NFT, which is a token in this like immutable blockchain that Ariana was describing. And because it is an immutable token that can't be changed and has its own unique properties, people can prove their ownership of that track. And so the artist can sell that token to collectors and fans, and actually for the first time profit from direct and connect with their fans directly, thanks to this NFT technology. So that's kind of just like a few use cases that we're seeing, but it's really kind of whatever people think of building on top of these networks.
That was a nice overview of all the things we're about to get into in this panel. And if I could just stick with you for a sec, Cami, can you just reinforce one more time why it is we need blockchain technology to do all of the things that you just mentioned versus, I mean, we all know that companies are investing millions and millions into different types of technology. So what, again, is it about blockchain technology that makes it so special?
Well, to me, it's clear that DeFi is the future of finance because it's simply better than the old traditional legacy financial system. And the reason is that these distributed, decentralized networks allow for the first time to have a global financial system. So right now, the current financial system relies on whatever country you're living in. So the US has its own financial system. Mexico has its own system. Canada has its own system. And those are countries that share borders, but they don't share the same financial system. So, for example, someone in Mexico isn't able to invest in US stocks, or isn't, or someone in Cuba, which is, like right next to Florida, isn't able to buy the US dollar. And that's because each country has its own financial system that's blocked off from the rest of the world. With blockchain, because these networks are global and distributed, anyone can access these applications. So it lowers the barriers of entry and allows for just global access to financial services. Because they're global, it also means that transactions are faster. So you can send however amount of money you want from one corner of the world to another in seconds, instead of waiting for the wire transfer to clear for however many business days you need to wait for the banks to actually make the transfer after paying like $100 fees or whatever for an international transfer. With blockchain technology, it's all instant and very cheap, depending on the blockchain you're using and on how congested it is. We can get into that later. Ethereum is super congested right now, so it's not essentially so cheap. But there's kind of technological developments working on that, which I'm really confident it'll be figured out. But anyways, so it's a global, open, cheaper and faster financial system. And the other reason why you need this technology for all these use cases is what I mentioned before, kind of the ability to have digital value for the first time, like digital ownership. What like blockchain and like Satoshi Nakamoto, the founder or like creator of Bitcoin, discovered was a way to make a digital currency that was unforgeable. So it's each Bitcoin it belongs to a chain of blocks that can be censored and can be tampered with, and each of these NFT tokens is unique and has its own kind of cryptographic key, so it can be just like reproduced and copied like a JPEG, so that's kind of the technological breakthrough that allows for these coins to gain in value. So yeah, it's really kind of a revolution. I believe kind of this is the future.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot to fix. Ariana, what are some examples of organizations or corporations that are implementing blockchain technology in one way or another today? I mean, we do talk so much about financial products, DeFi products, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. There are also things like stable coins and central bank digital currencies that everyone in the world is talking about. So what is something real that's happening today, which is a question that I always love to hear the answer to, because for so many years, and Cami, I think you could probably relate to this too, for so many years, reporting on the cryptocurrency space was very, futuristic and theoretical, but there are real things happening today. So where do we see blockchain technology being implemented right now in our everyday lives?
In real life, in real life. So I think also to clarify like terminologies, because I know it can get confusing. When we say DeFi, that means decentralized finance, which means that they are financial tools built on blockchain technology. And so when you hear people talking about the DeFi space, that's people, creating complex trading algorithms using cryptocurrencies to make profits, or recreating traditional financial tools and mechanisms using blockchain and using cryptocurrencies, which the Defiant, and Cami, and the amazing work she's done, a lot of that is around DeFi. So if you're into finance, if that gets you jazzed, DeFi is a great space for you. There also are plenty of other use cases, and I dropped some in the chat, but supply chain is a really big one. So I don't know how many of you shop at Reformation. I love Reformation, and they just announced that they're going to be partnering with a company out of the UK to have sustainably traced fibers in a certain line of their jeans. And so it's funny because I get an email from Reformation, and I've been in the space for a bit now. I've seen a lot of people try to do the supply chain, fiber tracking, sourcing, and all the ethical sourcing. And when I saw that Reformation in my inbox, it was like, now you can know where your jeans came from. And I was like, I bet this is blockchain. Also, this is my cat. I was like, I bet it's a blockchain product. And it was really great, though, because it didn't say that it was a blockchain product. But then I did some digging and researched. Hi. She's very chatty. She has thoughts on crypto. But when I did some research, I found out that, lo and behold, the company is using blockchain. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. But supply chain is a very common one. There's a lot of larger, like Maersk, which is like a large shipping company, like the Suez Canal shipping. But no, people that use like these big kind of like shipping and processes and all these kinds of things, they love using blockchain because it makes supply chain tracking easier. So that's kind of the lowest hanging fruit in terms of use cases. You mentioned CBDCs. So a CBDC, or a central bank digital currency, is like what we call a stable coin. So a stable coin is a type of cryptocurrency that is what we call pegged. So like DAI, DAI is a stable coin that's out there, and it is 1-to-1. So that means like one DAI is approximately $1 US, whereas like with Bitcoin and Ether, there's crazy price fluctuations because you can think of it almost like a stock in the market, or a really volatile currency. But with a stable coin, the idea is the technology behind it and the assets that are backed behind it keep it stable. So a CBDC, a central bank digital currency, is the government response to stable coins and to cryptocurrencies, because many central banks find cryptocurrencies threatening. If any central banks are watching, sorry. And I can now talk about central banks, because when I was working at the UN, I had to be really careful about what I said about larger institutions. Now I can say whatever I want. But basically, central banks feel threatened by alternative currencies, right? Because if you start having, a society use Bitcoin or use Ether or use Dogecoin or, whatever, don't use your Doge, hold it, obviously, you start to have less value in your currency. So what central banks are doing is they're creating their own version of, these digital currencies that are pegged, so it'd be the digital dollar, the digital euro, the digital yen, which China is actually the furthest in developing and launching their digital currency. So you can look it up, and they're very open about it. They're open that it's on blockchain technology. Something I will say is that there are nuances in blockchain. So you have public blockchains and you have private blockchains, and then you can also have, DLTs, which is like a kind of, there's more nuance to it, but basically there are ways that you can program blockchains such that, not everyone actually has the full transparency and visibility and access that you would get with like a Bitcoin or an Ether. So something to be careful with some of these, central bank digital currencies is how decentralized and transparent are they, which are characteristics that people like to see in blockchain applications. There's plenty more. Also, my computer's going to die, so I need to plug that in really quick. But yeah, plenty more use cases. It really is, think of anything that needs to be tracked, digital identity, getting your your diploma, your certificate, your COVID vaccine that could be, put into a ledger, and stored permanently. There's really a lot of different use cases. People are looking at music licensing, so like similar to NFTs, which NFT is a non-fungible token, which I'm sure we'll get into. Yeah, there's a lot. I'm gonna move really quick to charge my computer.
That's no problem. Yeah, I do want to get into NFTs and a little bit further on DeFi. I'm going to wrap up on payments unless Cami has anything else to say, but I do just want to add, as far as stable coins, Bitcoin was created and the initial vision of it was to be a digital currency. It was to act as digital cash. Obviously, right now, that's not really what a lot of people, most people are doing with it. You buy it and hold it for the most part. But But we do have, at least here in the US, we have both Visa and MasterCard looking at putting digital assets on their network, the two, biggest payments networks that there are. Not necessarily Bitcoin, but probably, a version of stable coins that they can do some kind of like innovative e-commerce with, as they are digital payments companies at the end of the day. And I'd say same with PayPal, which has enabled the buying, selling, and holding of Bitcoin, Ether, and some other digital assets as well. But I think that PayPal really is looking forward to the day that not just the US, but several different economies are, operating their own central bank digital currencies, and they're just, wanting to be a part of that. So yes, several use cases. Cami, I want to turn it back to you to kick us off with NFTs. This was a thing a couple years ago. Maybe some people in the audience will or won't, but I know everyone here on this panel will remember when CryptoKitties was a thing a couple of years ago, and then it kind of went away. Why is this back? Like, what has motivated this sudden surge again in popularity around NFTs?
It's interesting. I'm not sure exactly why it came back. I know like it was like there was a big boom in 2017 with CryptoKitties. Before that, there were actual kind of one of the first NFTs were called CryptoPunks. And right now, because those were like the first or like one of the first, those are like selling for like millions, like literally millions of dollars for like a tiny like pixelated picture of a punk. And it's incredible, and it's for this reason of like you can prove that you actually own this picture, like unlike what any other picture in the internet. You can show like this picture is linked to this specific token address, and I can prove that it's in my wallet, so I own it, and I'm very cool because I'm like an owner of a CryptoPunk, and whatever, people love that. I think like at least like I started seeing like that narrative of owning CryptoPunks pick up late last year. And I think maybe it was like fueled because of all the time that we're spending online. So like our identities are tied to our like online identity more than ever. Like, okay, we're on like these video conferences, we're on Twitter all day, on Discord, on Slack, and our avatar is kind of like who we are. So I think like it doesn't matter anymore like if you have like really expensive like handbag or like a really expensive shoes or a watch. Like you don't get to show those off anymore, but you do get to show off your like $1 million avatar, like if you bought a CryptoPunk. So I think maybe that's what kind of fueled it, this like rise of like the metaverse, so like virtual reality, just like just us living in this virtual world more. So I think that kind of like started picking up, together with just like rising crypto prices, bringing attention to the space, rising DeFi. So more kind of like tangible real world use cases for crypto. Like Ariana was saying, like right now, like it's not just like buying a token that might go up and down like we saw like in the 2017 bubble. Like I said, like there's actual financial applications that work. Like you can open a US dollar savings account and earn passive income in DeFi right now, and that's working. Like that's something everyone can do. So there's just like better fundamentals now, I think. So there's just like the whole space is rising, and so I don't know. I think like all those things together made kind of like NFT suddenly explode, and then like all the mainstream attention coming to the space, like Beeple, this he's like a well-known digital artist on like before all this, and he started getting involved with NFTs, and then like he was the one to sell the $69 million like NFT on Christie's, and that brought even more mainstream attention, and like more artists and like musicians started selling NFTs, and it just like snowballed. I don't know, like Ariana, if you remember like a specific thing that triggered it. I don't really. Like I think it was just like a mix of things.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of things, and I have a bit more of like a philosophical or maybe like meta thought on it that I've been thinking about a lot, because I kind of stepped away from the crypto space for a little bit, and then all of a sudden I'm getting calls and texts from people who, back when I used to try to convert them to blockchain, they called me crazy, 4 or 5 years ago, and now all of a sudden, like, they're like, oh, I'm into blockchain now, and I'm like, why all of a sudden is it clicking with people? And I think there's a few things. So I think, yes, we all went digital, so we're all spending so much time online, so things are spreading faster. I think people, in terms of NFTs, people have had a desire to get close to creators, to influencers, to the people that they look up to. There's been this removal and barrier, right, with Instagram Live, with TikTok, with all these different kinds of like applications that are allowing people just to interface directly with the people that they care about. And I think NFTs are another iteration of that, right, where you can buy something from your favorite artist, or buy something, you can bid on something, you can try to, buy something from someone that you think is really cool. So I think there's that component. Again, we're all sitting on our computers, not our phones. But I also think there is something about NFTs that I think clicked for people instead of some of the other previous blockchain use cases, is that it's really similar to crowdfunding. And people kind of already understood crowdfunding as like a concept, right? You had, GoFundMe, you have Patreon, you have all these different kinds of platforms that let anyone contribute and feel a little bit, closer to whatever goal. And I think with NFTs, people are like, oh yeah, I can contribute my little amount of money. And sure, you have like the huge Beeple auction, which I think I have a lot of critiques, I think, on these like hyper inflated sales of NFTs, because if you look at who's selling them, they already have a following. They already have, a lot of clout. Like, not any artist can just go and have Christie's or Sotheby's sell their NFTs. So I want to dispel that myth right now. The idea that like, oh, it's democratizing the art space and everyone can become rich, I strongly disagree, and I can go into that more. And I don't want people to think that that's going to happen, because we're kind of seeing a similar thing that we saw with the ICO craze, right, which was the initial coin offering craze back in 2017, where all these people were just like pumping tokens saying, buy my token, you'll become a millionaire. So there's definitely things to be wary of, but I do think for those that want to put their art out without having to use an agent or a gallery, or musicians who, want to put it out without having a label, because it's blockchain and because it's decentralized and it's what we call peer-to-peer, you can just put it out there. Now you probably have to do some marketing, you probably have to like, share with people what you're doing, because there's, especially now, the system is pretty flooded, right? The market is pretty overwhelmed with content. So there has to be some curation and some marketing offline, off-chain. But I think people now are sick of having to answer to somebody, and sick of having, to go through someone. Like, artists, musicians, have been moving away from labels for a long time, right? And so I think, with artists, I don't know much about the art industry. I don't know how exactly it works, but I do know that people want to just do things on their own, which is why it's really cool for people to like bootstrap themselves. And NFTs are a way for people to do that if it can work for them. Yeah. Everyone, raised 69 million. No. That it was a bit, to me, it was a bit of a charade. I don't know if it was genuine. I don't know if there was some like market making there. I don't know Beeple and I don't know Christie's, but I think it's pretty absurd that people are just willing to kind of, but luckily he's going to take that money and do really great things with it. Not everyone is going to do that. But I think it's a cool tool that can be used, and that makes it easier for people to create things.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to see this technology as a tool. That doesn't mean that because you're using NFT, suddenly your art will be better. In the end, like, it's just a way to sell art. And so if you're producing actual like quality art, and you're like a professional, creator or whatever, like if you have a quality product, then you can use this tool to sell that product. And if you have an audience, they will be able to maybe more easily buy it, or you'll be able to gain profit from that more directly than you would if you were going through a gallery or through Spotify. This is really kind of what NFTs are enabling, that kind of more direct relationship between the creators and their fans. So that creators can actually benefit from their work more easily. So I love the story behind Blau. So I don't know if you guys know him. He's a DJ. He's like been super involved in kind of crypto for a while, and he sold his like latest album via NFT. Like he sold the art, like the cover art via NFT. He put some of his tracks on NFTs and like stuff like that. And I think he made like close to like $20 million or something from this album. And he was like, I made more from this album than from 30 years putting songs up on Spotify. So it just kind of like, it makes you kind of think about kind of, just gives you an idea of how empowering this tool can be. But again, like, you need to be creating something that people want to like listen to or hear. Like I agree that it starts to become more about hype and fluff when it's just like, I'm gonna put up an NFT out there and hope to become rich. Yeah, I agree, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, like that works if you're already rich and have friends that are like, you're like, hey, like throw 10 mil at this, and then it's like, okay, and then you do that, right? And then you get other people that are in the market that are like, some people get high off of like the gamble and the craze and the crypto. I personally don't, which is why I'm very critical of it. I just don't have the time and energy. But some people love that, right? So they like watching things like go up and they want to keep bidding, and they like the idea of like winning the bid. And so for that, sure, do that. That's the same thing with crypto. Like I've always been a big fan of the idea that, it's a currency. It's meant to be circulated. It's meant to be used. And I think, the people that just, are speculative and use it as, a stock, it's like, I don't know about that. And that's just like my personal opinion on it. But yeah, I think those that can create communities, which I know community is a big buzzy word and really any kind of like stream, like work stream, industry right now. But if you can create a community and if you can create an experience around the NFTs. So I was talking to a project this morning that's launching an NFT company, and they're selling basically like lifelong, like fan, badges as NFTs, as opposed to just like, oh, buy my NFT, it's my record, or like it's like a picture. It's like, actually this NFT gets you access to XYZ thing over a certain amount of time. And like, that's really cool. There's value in that, right? There's like continued, experience within that, like embedded in that. And like, that's how you provide like sustained long-term value to your customers and users. Now, if you're an artist that's, putting out a painting, fine, different, put that out. But if you're looking to like, actually create something of value, you need to have a bit more thought out. And the same thing goes when you're buying NFTs. No investment advice, but really look at like what you're buying and know what you're getting into. If you just want to like buy them to collect them, great. But also if you want to buy them to get closer to the artist or the creator, like look for those things too.
I'm going to stop picking on you individually. You can just jump in, but can either of you speak further to the idea of ownership? Because I think that there is a lot of confusion out there, and in this space in particular, we can get very bogged down in semantics. But do you, like, when you own an NFT, do you actually own it? If you can't license it, et cetera, that's a whole debate. Where do you guys stand on that?
So what you actually own is like the token. So the Defiant did a really good article on that, and I'll link to it in a bit. But it's you need to be careful to see what it actually is that you are buying. So in all of the cases, what you will be buying is the token itself. Like that's kind of a script, like a piece of code that's in the Ethereum blockchain or like whatever blockchain these NFTs are issued. And what it can do is it can be traded back and forth, and it has like some specific properties and qualities, like when it was issued, like all this information that's kind of in the contract of the token. So that's not very exciting, but that's kind of like what you 100% will for sure own. Then what's like actually interesting about NFTs is like the metadata that is linked to them. So the JPEG that represents the art that you're buying, the audio file, the movie, whatever that is kind of represents the GIF or the soundtrack or whatever that you're buying. Kind of the metadata that's linked to the token is what's interesting. And that's kind of where it gets tricky, because some of these marketplaces will link this metadata to centralized servers. So the whole point of like owning a decentralized like token that it will be on the blockchain forever and whatever, like all of that kind of goes away if like the marketplace that you're buying the NFT from is storing like the image in a certain centralized server. Some marketplaces do this, others will kind of store the data on a decentralized server. So like that's just something to be careful of when you're buying NFTs. So that said, like if you realize, okay, the data is stored in a decentralized server, like it will be up there forever, like even if like Nifty Gateway or whatever, like wherever you buy this from goes down, this thing will be out there like stored on a blockchain. Once you know that, then you can be sure that you actually own it. Like that's what's so cool about this. Like you can prove that you own this token. Like you have your blockchain address that is unique to you, that only you control. You have the kind of the keys to this address. And this token is stored in your address, and you can prove it. Like it's public. You can show someone the link. Anyone can go into your wallet and see that the NFT is there. So that's kind of what this thing can offer. And it like, because it's on a public blockchain, you can also see the history of like everyone who has owned the token before. So like that's kind of where some of these pieces start gaining value. Like the same example with the CryptoPunks. Like you can see, oh, this token was created in 2017. Like there's like a whole history of like ownership and being first, and it's provable and it's like immutable. So yeah, I think kind of that's kind of what you can get and what you need to be careful of.
All right. Looks like a lot of audience members. This will come as no surprise to you too. Are really conflicted about the environment and the impact that NFTs could possibly have on the environment. What exactly is that impact? What should we be concerned about? Either of you.
I mean, I can take a stab. I'm not an expert. I do not have any kind of degree in environmental anything. But what is the source of the energy, I guess, demand is the underlying blockchain technology. And so basically, like when I say, what does a blockchain look like? It looks, I don't know if anyone has ever seen like an Amazon or a Facebook server, farm where it's just like literally like, have you ever watched Silicon Valley? It's just like the hallways of like walls and walls and walls of computer servers. That is what blockchain really looks like. Like there are whole companies that just have what are called mining farms. And then you have like your, cool coder who has his like mining, hardcore computer in his closet, but really mostly it's these like big mining farms. And so what that is, they're computers that are running, right? Computers run the blockchain, and they have to, right now, the way that Ethereum and Bitcoin work is something called proof of work, which again, very technical, but really what it means is it's just like thousands of computers running really complex code and trying to break algorithms. And then like whenever they break the algorithm, that's when something is put onto the blockchain, right? So they're just like computers running like, it's like you have 100 tabs open and your computer sounds really loud and it's like overheating and it's just like running. That is like, and this is like probably a gross oversimplification. So if anyone's super technical, feel free to correct me in the comments, but that requires energy, right? If you're gonna be running a computer 24/7, if you're gonna be running thousands of computers 24/7, that requires energy. Now that is just one way that you can run a blockchain, and there are people that are working to shift it to a less energy intensive model. And that's, these are all called consensus mechanisms, and there's a lot of nuances and technicalities in that. What people are trying to do on the energy intensive side is switch to alternative energy sources, right? So you have people using solar power, you have people using hydropower, you have people that are putting their mining rigs in Iceland and in like really cold places to try to reduce the need to cool down the computers. And so there are people that are working on that within the crypto space to reduce the impact of that. But then when you think about, the other kinds of, I know people talk about the carbon footprint of you shopping on Amazon, or returning, buying things at home and returning them and using, FedEx and all these different kinds of things. I think it does use a lot of energy, but there are things that use a lot of other energy as well. So it is something we all need to be cautious of, especially Happy Earth Day, Mother Earth. But the Ethereum network in specific is shifting to, ideally soon, a less energy intensive model. There's a lot more details there, but I know, Cami, if you want to chime in.
No, I think you're pretty much what I would say. NFT specifically isn't what's energy intensive. It's just using these blockchains, like running these blockchains. What is Bitcoin is the most energy intensive blockchain. Ethereum comes next because they use proof of work. Ethereum is changing to proof of stake, which doesn't require nodes to put energy towards securing the network. So hopefully soonish. No, I don't think it'll be soon. It'll probably be in a couple of years, but that's for another conversation. Ethereum will move to proof of stake at some point. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a shame, but that's kind of what the cost is for running global decentralized networks. I think there's kind of an incentive for miners to use more green energies because it's cheaper. Like there's a monetary incentive for them to move. So there's like different reports on this. Like some reports say that half of like Bitcoin energy sources come from renewable energies. So while like the energy consumption is really big and intensive in these proof of work networks, that doesn't mean that the energy is coming from like fossil fuels. Like it may be coming from a renewable energy, so it's not that bad. And I also agree that it needs to be it needs to come with a caveat that sure, so maybe minting NFTs, takes a lot of energy consumption, but like. Yeah, so does buying art from and like ordering art from Amazon. I think that's much more energy intensive than minting an NFT online.
Right. Before I start talking about DeFi, anyone that wants to look at NFTs, think about buying NFTs and just dip their toes in any way, what are some platforms they can turn to, some reputable companies that they should look up?
So like the biggest one is, Nifty Gateway is kind of the biggest secondary market. Rarible is another one. Foundation is another one. I don't know, Ariana, like if you...
Yeah,
there's another one.
I have
Sora, yeah.
Yeah, Sora is one that I have like friends that work there and I'm familiar with. So it's called Dora. But yeah, and there's places where you can mint them, and then there's places where you can buy them. And I actually was listening to their really great talk all day Tuesday called OG NFT, and I hope they're going to be uploading it to YouTube. But it was like a really great event. I'll try to find the link. But someone was basically talking about how there isn't currently what we call in crypto or blockchain a bridge, which means there's a bunch of different blockchains, and you need something that connects all the different blockchains so it's easy to use across blockchains. We refer to that as like a bridge. But right now there's not really like NFT bridges. So like, sure, you can have, buy NFTs, they can sit on OpenSea, but let's say maybe you want to have this like unified crypto wallet that shows all your NFTs in one place. It doesn't really exist. So that shows you how like, new the technology is. And so also if you're dabbling in crypto and you're like, this is really complex and weird and doesn't make any sense, it's because it's still like a new technology and people are still working on it. So yeah, Zora is fun. So like, you can mint on Zora. I personally actually have never bought an NFT, full disclosure, because I once went to buy one of the Kings of Leon one. They released their album and like things for their tour. I love Kings of Leon. I just, with my fiat currency, bought the t-shirt. But I found that gas fees, which is what Cami was talking about when she said that the network was really clogged, is like you'll find out that there's gas fees that like you have to pay to use the blockchain. Fun fact. For many of them, not all of them, but especially Ethereum. And so if you are looking to buy a NFT, price may double depending on the gas fee, which is just a bit crazy. So I haven't bought one yet because I just don't feel like spending my ether that way personally. But
right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you just specify what exactly a gas fee is
Yeah.
and why it's called a gas fee?
Yeah. Okay, so on certain blockchains such as Ethereum or Bitcoin, when you want to do a transaction, so when you're, when you go to buy an NFT, you are using, you're making a transaction on the blockchain, because again, what is happening in the back end is they're just on this like mega global ledger. It just is transferring ownership of that thing from someone to you, right? So again, it's just like literally like a crazy ass Excel sheet. And so what's happening is that the network has so many different things going on that it can't confirm everything at once. And so gas fees are a way, in what we say it incentivizes the miner. So the people that are, the computers, supercomputers that are running, it incentivizes them to push that transaction through. And so I have a lot of thoughts on gas fees. I like, it makes me, I don't think it's like equitable and fair. And I think it's frustrating because basically what happens is if you can pay more money in gas fees, your transaction gets pushed through faster, is kind of the very short answer of it. Now, I like to fight for a just, equitable world, and I think that is a crock of shit, part of my language, because it's like, that's why I didn't buy the Kings of Land one, because the gas fee was more expensive than NFT. It was gonna be $80 in gas fees for a $60 NFT. And I was like, that's absurd, I'm not doing that, right? And so that's what happens, and the more clogged the network is, the busier the network is, the more expensive gas is. And so that's another like crazy thing. So right now, everyone's like super pumped about NFTs, which we love that. But then, yeah, it doesn't sound like democracy. I completely agree with you. There's a lot of strange ironies in the blockchain and crypto system. I'm a bit jaded after being in it for a bit. But there also are people working on that, right? There's products and companies that are actually taking on the gas fees for their users, so the user doesn't ever have to pay that, the company takes it on. I think that's incredible. And then also there are ways that the underlying kind of technology is shifting and changing to make gas fees not as high. Because what that is, it's a product of how the system is structured to like push these transactions through, just the same way as it, it's very energy intensive. And there are people working on the underlying technologies to make it to where it costs less and uses less energy. So there are, people are aware of that. The kind of, core teams that are working on it are aware of that. It just takes a lot of time because it's not like it's like Oracle's or, Google saying push through this update. It's a decentralized technology, which means that the community has to agree on any kind of update. And it's like a very intense process. Right. So that's why it's like when you want things to change really fast, they might not change that fast.
And what about DeFi? What should people who have heard this and are interested in dipping their toes in DeFi, what are the main assets that they should be looking at, or where should they look to go and try to buy some of these assets or tokens or a fraction of them? Cami.
Okay, so the first thing to do if you want to interact with DeFi is to, well, right now, most of DeFi is on Ethereum. So to interact with DeFi, you need to buy ETH because you will need to pay for transaction and gas costs whenever you interact with these applications. Like Ariana was saying, it sucks that gas fees are so high right now. Like last year, I used to use all these DeFi apps and it cost like pennies like for each transaction. And now it's hard for them to cost like less than $20. But there are scaling solutions coming online right now that are making fees cheaper. So, I mean, this is something that will be solved this year, like gas fees. It's not like something that you have to wait a long time to be solved. Like there are scaling solutions like Polygon and others that are live right now and like helping solve this. But anyways, sidetrack. You need to buy ETH. And to do this, you need to go on a centralized crypto exchange like Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini. From there, you need to download MetaMask. And MetaMask will be your gateway into all of the different DeFi applications. So MetaMask is a non-custodial wallet. And what that means is that you hold the private keys of your cryptocurrency. So you are the one who is in control of your assets. You're not trusting a centralized exchange or a third party or anyone else with your money. You're in charge. which is super empowering. It's really cool, but it also means that you need to be responsible, and never lose kind of your password to your wallet, because like there's no password recovery. Like you're in charge. Like there's nobody kind of holding that for you. So it's a big responsibility. So once you have your MetaMask wallet, you can send ETH on your centralized exchange. Like when you bought ETH on Coinbase, that's a centralized exchange. You can take that ETH and send it to your MetaMask wallet, to your non-custodial wallet, and that's when you become 100% in control of your life now, of your assets. And once you have ETH on your MetaMask, you can start interacting with DeFi. And it's just a really cool user experience. And it's something that's completely different from kind of the user experience that we're used to, where you go into any online application and you have to have a username and password. In DeFi and in Web3, what happens is that your wallet is your identity. So you connect your MetaMask with all these different DeFi applications, and nobody asks you for your username and password. Like all these DeFi apps automatically connect to your wallet, and like they detect that you have MetaMask installed on your browser, and you can immediately start using DeFi. So what I would recommend, yeah, you can buy crypto with MetaMask, but you need to have crypto there first. So it's like you still need to send ETH to MetaMask to buy crypto there. So what I would recommend is, okay, get ETH on MetaMask, then use Uniswap, which is kind of the most popular decentralized exchange, and buy some stable coins on Uniswap. Is MetaMask like Ledger? So Ledger is it's a non-custodial tool like MetaMask, but the difference is that Ledger is cold storage, so it's like offline. So this is like when you have like a lot of money on, or like money that you don't want to touch, that you want it to be 100% safe and nobody can access, you put that on Ledger because it's not connected to the internet, so nobody can access it. But when you want to be interacting with DeFi apps online, then you have your money on your MetaMask or other non-custodial online wallets. So with that, I recommend like going to Uniswap or other decentralized exchanges and just experiencing what it's like to trade with a smart contract. It's just really cool. And like nobody asks you anything, and it's executed like very quickly. And you can buy stable coins on Uniswap, and then go to a lending application like Compound or Aave, and then deposit those stable coins there and start earning interest. And that's kind of an easy way to start interacting with DeFi. You open a USD savings account, and you can start earning 5% to 10% interest on your dollars, which is a lot higher than you can get on any bank. So that's kind of a simple use case. And then if you want to like get more, like take on more risk, there's like tons of stuff that you can do. But I think that's kind of a good first step.
Yeah, it gets pretty fancy. And what are some of your favorite projects or tokens right now, and why?
I don't like kind of recommending specific tokens, but I don't know, Ariana, maybe you can take this one.
No, and that's not because I don't like recommending them. I personally don't really follow the DeFi space. I think when you're in blockchain or when you're in crypto, you kind of find your lane and you focus on your lane. I very much am focused on like more of the social impact, blockchain for good, community kind of space, which there are, DeFi components of that. But I personally, it's too much for me. There's so much, like I'm on DeFi Twitter and crypto Twitter, and like it's like drinking from a fire hose constantly. And there's enough in the world to stress me out. So I leave my financially minded friends that are like really good at it, and I just do what they tell me to do.
Some people in the audience are also asking about Ether, and either of you can take this, but we've talked about some pretty advanced applications tonight, but there's a lot going on with just Bitcoin and Ether right now. I guess, why? What is going on right now? And why is the Ether token so interesting, which I like, as someone that covers digital assets for institutions and institutional investors. Like, I can even say a lot of the banks that I talk to have said Bitcoin has just become so institutionalized, and it's just like one announcement after another. Morgan Stanley is doing this with Bitcoin, and Goldman Sachs wants to do that. And a lot of these same institutions are now looking at Ether, I suspect, and I think one of you can correct me if I'm wrong, because they're so interested in all of these DeFi assets, and so many of them run on the Ethereum blockchain. So I think that a lot of people are interested in the Ether token. But yes, tell us a little bit more about Ether and I guess what people should be paying attention to right now. Ariana.
I mean, so I, again, not the DeFi expert. I know my face is always grinning. I think for my meta macro commentary, socio-political, I think Ether is high right now because people are using it, which is exciting. I think that's a big component of it. Right? They
like on DeFi and on NFTs.
On DeFi, on NFTs. People are learning more about it, they're buying it, and then they're using it. And I think the more, when there's demand, the price goes up, right? And so people are wanting, like, most of these products are built on Ethereum, the Ethereum blockchain. And I've seen people talk about Tezos in the chat and other blockchains, but really most of these products are on Ethereum, which means that to buy an NFT or to get into crypto trading, you need to have Ether. So Ether is like the cryptocurrency for Ethereum. And so, yeah, I agree that the ETH blockchain is far more dynamic because it was designed, Ethereum was kind of like Bitcoin 2.0 or blockchain 2.0, in which it was designed for people to build applications on top of it. And then Ether is kind of the like fuel that keeps it running, right? So like you need Ether to interact on these applications. And so it's kind of like, it's like a reinforcing mechanism, right? Where you can't really use, Ethereum applications on Ethereum unless you have Ether that keeps the price of Ether high, et cetera, et cetera. It's like reciprocal. And so I think, yeah, people are using it and people are talking about it, which is exciting. And then you also have people that are, we call them like hodlers, or like people that hold crypto. And so I think people are also seeing the price go up and they think, oh, it's a store of value, let me buy it. So you have people that are like buying it for that purpose. And then you have people that are buying it to use. I personally am excited that people are buying it to use because, again, that it's like a currency. Currency needs to be flowing, it needs to be used, not just held. But I think, what will likely happen, I think there's going to be an NFT bubble. I think the bubble will pop. I don't know when. And you likely will see the price of Ether maybe drop a little bit when that happens. But it's because people aren't buying it as much. Maybe they're not using it as much. And then I think, you see the same thing with cryptocurrencies and with stable coins when there are, political issues and when things are getting volatile in the world, people, instead of using gold, are using these as stores of value, right? Or people in other countries are using crypto as their currency of choice, and they're moving money into that. And so that's also when you see prices increase as well.
All right, Cami, anything to add to that as closing thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Like I think what's exciting about this bull run is that it's actually being backed by people using applications and not just speculating on kind of the future of blockchain, but like speculating or like getting excited about the present of blockchain. So that gets me excited. That's kind of what I cover in the Defiant every day, kind of what these financial applications are actually being used for, and like making a difference in actual people's lives. Like I had a story recently about someone who refinanced their mortgage using DeFi. So it's stuff that's affecting real people, like NFTs. Recently, the woman on the overly attached girlfriend meme. Do you know that meme? Mm-hmm. She sold an NFT of her meme and was able to profit from her meme becoming viral for all these years for the first time. So it's like you know, it's like crypto, DeFi, NFTs are making a difference on like actual people's lives, and that's what's fueling this rally for ETH and Bitcoin. And like high tide lifts all boats. So while I believe there's like actual use cases and like demand for Bitcoin and ETH and maybe like a few other tokens, that's kind of lifting other cryptocurrencies as well that might not have much behind them. So you need to be careful there. And I do think, because this is such a new technology and like market, will like we go through these cycles of like speculation, boom and bust. And you know, I think it may happen again. I don't know if it'll be as sharp a correction as like 2017 to 2018, but we're likely to see some pullback from like this like huge hype. But I think if you believe in this technology, you can be in it for the long term. At least I believe like in the long term, the trend will continue to be up. Like I said, I think this is the future of finance and the internet. So I think this is just beginning. And so I do not recommend kind of like trying to time the market and buy and sell, but just, you know, hold on for the long term, like put a small amount of money or like whatever amount you're comfortable. Maybe not speculating like putting all your savings in Bitcoin, but I think, you know, it's safe to at least have like part of your savings and betting on kind of this like more decentralized future, and just like look at it as a more kind of long-term bet rather than that like short-term speculation.
All right, great. Well, Ariana, Cami, thank you both so much. And thank you to our hosts at Ladies Get Paid. This was a great conversation. And yeah, I hope everyone in the audience enjoyed it and learned a lot from it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.